See, we are live. 1 is live. 2, 3, 4. I don't tell you. I didn't know that. Okay. 2, 3, 4 is live. 5 is live. 6 is live. We are on. Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it may be as you are checking in. Hope everybody is having a great day. And y'all see the topic, what we're going to talk about here today. Let me get my pinned comment in place on IG. They don't let me pin the comment on, well, they let you pin a comment on TikTok and then it disappears after 60 seconds or so. I don't know why they do that. But anyway, what we are getting into here today, folks, is you see the subject. You are better than you think you are. Let me turn my timer on. And are we set? Timer's on. Let's get to it. You are better than you think you are. So what we're talking about here today, and as y'all coming in, you can shout yourselves out in the comment section if you wish. D Fears, straight out of Pontiac, Michigan. Shout out to Pontiac, Michigan. Good morning to you, sir. This episode is made a confidence boost. What I want to talk about here today, this is really a confidence boost for all of you out there who are out there hustling, aspiring, ascending, or at least hoping to ascend, grinding, doing your thing. And really, for those of you who have yet to really stick your neck out or throw your hat in the ring and really put yourself out there boldly and authentically, as we talk about all the time over here in the Work on Your Game world. And again, really is for the opportunities that you want, because many of you are probably seeking opportunities or looking to create opportunities, or you want to exploit opportunities. But for whatever reason, maybe you've been holding yourself back and not putting yourself out there as much as you could put yourself out there. So this is why I want to talk about these things here today, and I'll address questions and comments at the end if anybody has any while I'm talking. So you cannot find out how good you are until you put yourself in a position where you are challenged, where you are pushed, where you basically have to go beyond your comfort zone, go beyond what you are used to and what is normal for you. So today I'm going to help you understand how this is that I know I can assert that you're probably better than you think you are, and what you can do about it, and why all of this is true. I'm going to do all of that here over the next, I think I got 3 points I'm going to share here today. For those of you who are unfamiliar with me, and those of you who are, I just need to remind you because you might have forgotten since last time. My name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete, author of 35 books, done 4 TEDx talks. I created this brand called Work on Your Game. What we do here is we help you perform at your highest level, do so consistently, and produce more results based on taking the tools to help athletes get to the top of the sports game and translating them over to the business game and to everyday life. So we do both personal and professional development here. A lot of people we work with are looking more for the personal side. A lot of people we work with are looking for the professional side, depending on where you're at and where you're coming from. And we don't discriminate, because over here, I am a firm believer that what's happening at work affects what's happening at home, and vice versa. What's happening at home affects what's happening at work. So what we're going to talk about here today, as I said, is why you are better than you think you are. And again, this is for any of you who's looking to put yourself out there. Maybe you haven't done it yet. Maybe you've been hesitant to do so up to this point. Number one, you have untapped potential within you that you have not yet explored for the simple fact of not trying. And when I say not trying, I don't necessarily mean that you're lazy and you're not putting effort in, even though that could be the case. When I say not trying, what I mean is you haven't even put yourself in a position to where that untapped potential can even be identified and found, because you are staying within your comfort zone. So you're being diligent, but you're being diligent in doing the things that you're already comfortable with and that you're used to doing. Whereas in order for you to tap into this other potential that's within you that you don't even know about, you had to move yourself into a different space and put some effort in over there. And until you move into that space, doesn't matter how hard you keep working in the current space, you got to move to the other space to where it's going to be a little bit more challenging, to where it may not be as easy as it is where you are right now. To give you an example, when I was growing up playing basketball in the city of Philadelphia, where I'm from, there were 2 full court basketball courts at the park that I grew up playing at in Mount Airy, Philadelphia. Anybody from Philly who was listening to this. And there was one that we call A court, and the other one was called B court. And now the A court was the court where all the best players in the neighborhood played. This is where, and mind you, this is when I'm 14, 15, 16 years old. So A court was where all the grown men played. And if anyone my age was good enough or brave enough to go play with the grown men. And grown men, I'm talking guys mostly in their 20s and early 30s. If you wanted to play with them, you go over there. But if you didn't play well, then they probably wouldn't pick you up and you would get relegated to go playing on the B court. So when I was 15, let's say 15 years of age, I would usually just go straight to the B court and play with other kids who are around my age, because mostly the younger guys and the teenagers are people who weren't super, let's say, ambitious about basketball. They just wanted to play for fun, so to speak. They mostly played on B court, or the young guys who weren't old enough or good enough yet to play on A court, they would play on the B court. So I would play on the B court, and I got pretty good at playing on B court. Playing there over the course of a summer or two, I got pretty good to where I was kind of like a star on B court. I was one of the better players playing on the B court. And I remember I had a peer. He was my same age. We were in the same grade. His name was James. He was from my neighborhood. And James would come to the park, and he would come with guys who were older than him. So he would hang with these guys who were older. I don't know who they were, who he was hanging with. But anyway, he would come to the park with these guys who were older than him or older than us. And he would walk past the B court to go play on A court. And the reason he played on A court is because he was hanging with these older guys, and they would pick him up to come play with them. And sometimes he would say to me when he was walking past the court, he'd say, "Dre, why are you still playing on B court?" And he was absolutely right, because James, the funny thing about him is, and I don't know if he sees this, he knows it's true, James wasn't even that good at basketball. He wasn't very physically talented. He wasn't very skilled, and he didn't have any ambitions of making it as a basketball player. He didn't have any of those things. I had all of those things. I had some physical gifts. I was starting to develop my skill, and I had the ambition that I wanted to go somewhere as a basketball player. Yet he was playing on A court, and I was playing on B court. So he was 100% correct when he would say to me, "Dre, why are you still playing on B court?" And it was a good question that he was asking. And the difference was, again, he was willing to put himself in a position where it was going to be a little bit more uncomfortable for him, even though he wasn't that good. Whereas I believe I was better than him. Maybe at that time, maybe he was still better than me, but eventually I got way better than him because he stopped playing. But I was still playing on the B court. And again, I was doing my thing on B court. I was putting my work in. I was putting my time in and my effort and all that stuff. But it wasn't challenging me to get any better because I was playing against people who I was already better than. Only way I could really advance is if I start going and playing on A court with the grown men, which meant maybe not doing as well, maybe sometimes playing poorly, maybe not getting picked up to play in a game because I played bad the game before that. But you got to put yourself in that position to deal with that discomfort and to deal with that, if you want to call it failure or setback or challenge, whatever you want to call it. You got to put yourself in that position in order to find out how good you can actually be. So when I say you haven't tapped into your potential by the fact of not trying, one aspect of it is that maybe you're just lazy and not putting in effort. But another aspect of it is you're not lazy, but you're doing your hard work in a place that you're already comfortable with. So you got to move to a place that is uncomfortable and do some hard work over here. Take that same hard work and put it over here, and let's see what happens. So that's part of not trying as well, is basically staying in a place that you are used to and somewhere where you already know where things are going to happen. So if there's a certain limit to which you have pushed yourself up to this point, you can't find out what the actual limit is until you test the boundaries. You got to test the boundaries of your own limits. And it's an important part of testing the boundaries of your own limits, folks, is getting a second set of eyes or a fresh set of eyes on you and what you're doing, because often it's hard for us to self-diagnose how much further we can go. Because often if you ask most people, do you think you're doing everything you can or giving all the effort you could? Most people will either say, yes, they believe they are, which is not true, or B, they will say, I know that I'm not, but there's nothing or no one pushing you or showing you, hey, here's a way that you could actually go a little bit further. And so you could believe that, yeah, there is more potential within me that I'm not tapping into, but then going right back to doing the same thing you've already been doing. This is the reason why coaches exist. This is the reason why masterminds and trainers exist. So you can have other people who say, okay, you know that you could do more. Let's think about what exactly that more is, and let's get to actually doing it. Let's start doing it like right now. We don't have to wait until next month or until you're comfortable with it, because the fact of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, if you wait until you are comfortable doing something in order to move yourself forward, you're going to run out of time, because most human beings want to do things at a pace that is, any pace that's comfortable for you is too slow. Let's just put it that way. Let me say that again. Any pace that is comfortable for you is too slow, because what's comfortable for you is what you're used to doing. That doesn't mean that's the limit of what you're capable of. What you're used to and what you're capable of are two different things. Most of us do things that we're used to, and we just go through this cycle, and they become habits, and we just go through this cycle over the course of our lives, never tapping into our full potential because we are in our comfort zones. This is the reason why the most successful people allow themselves, notice my wording here, they allow themselves to be pushed out of their comfort zones. And they often aren't doing it on their own volition. They put themselves in the position to be pushed out of their comfort zones. How do they do that? They get around other people who are going to push them. And again, this is the reason why the law of association is what it is. You become the average of the people you spend the most time with. So here's my question to you. Who are you spending time with? And are they pushing you? And I'll answer questions at the end, by the way. Anybody got a question or comment, I'll answer them all at the end. Who are you allowing to push you? And or do you have anyone around you who would push you? Again, we often set our limits based on things that people around us have as their limits. The limits that, I got to pause connection on Instagram, see if it comes back. There it is. We often set our personal limits based on the limits of the people we associate with. So you need to be very careful about who you choose for associates, because they are demonstrating to you what limits you should and could have for yourself. So if you want to step your game up, all you got to do is get around some people whose limits seem to be higher than yours. People who are looking at things and doing things by their actions. They're doing things that show that their way of thinking is different than your way of thinking, in a way that you would like to get to, a way that you would like to ascend to, or maybe something that you aspire to. And the challenge with this is, as we continue, most people do not invest into developing themselves on a personal or professional level in such a way, because you know what's on the other side of it. See, if I tell you to go, if you're trying to get in shape fitness wise, and I tell you go hire a trainer, well, you know what's going to happen when you hire a trainer. See, it's not a money thing. Most people use money as the excuse. The main reason people don't go and do something like that, let's say hire a trainer, is because, you know, the trainer is going to push you to do stuff that you ain't doing. The trainer is going to make you do things that you are not used to doing, that you are not comfortable with doing, and you probably simply don't want to do, because mentally you're thinking about the pain that is going to come with and the discomfort that's going to come with doing whatever the trainer says to do. And you know, once you hire a trainer, you can't just opt out and say, I don't want to do it. See, if you go to the gym by yourself and you don't want to do something hard, you can just not do it. Nobody knows. I mean, nobody can read your mind, so they don't know that you're thinking, oh, I'm supposed to lift 50 pounds, but I'm only going to go 30 because I don't feel like lifting 50. See, nobody knows that. Only you know it, because it's happening in your head. But see, if the trainer says lift 50, you can't just say, well, I don't feel like it. Right? See, that anticipation of discomfort is what stops most people from moving themselves forward. And there's a lot of this you can do even if you were to push yourself on your own. Challenge is most people don't consistently push themselves, because we're not consciously thinking about it on a regular basis. It's the reason why many people stay in the same spot, not because we don't want to be successful. I ask most of you in a private conversation, do you want to be more successful than you are now? However you define that term, everybody would say yes. The challenge is, are you willing to deal with the discomfort that comes with that increased level of success? Because the discomfort is guaranteed, because you're going to be moving out of your comfort zone. Comfort zone is what you're used to. In order to get out of your comfort zone, you're going to have to do some things that are uncomfortable, just by definition of the terms. And most people anticipate the discomfort. It's not the actual discomfort, it's the anticipation of the discomfort that makes people not do stuff. All right, this is the reason why, and this is the emotional part, because most people, they stop themselves from doing things because they're anticipating how it's going to feel rather than how it actually feels, because they never actually do it to get the real feeling of pain, or whatever you think is going to be pain. Is you're thinking about the pain that causes you to stop. All right, I'm not going to go and do this workout, or I'm not going to go and follow what this coach told me to do, because you're thinking about how uncomfortable it's going to be for you, is not because of the actual experience of it. So these limits that we have on ourselves, they are easily expanded if we just push against them or step outside of them. If you're willing to push against them or step outside your limits, you can find that they were really just illusions the entire time. So some of the things that you're wanting to do in your career, in your business, in your life, you could do them right now if you would just try to do them and make the attempt. Let me say that again. Some of the things that you want to do in your career, your business, or life, you could do them right now today if you would simply just make the attempt. If you would just do it. All right. And there's nothing stopping you from making 2 times more cold calls today than you normally do. You normally send out 5 emails a day to new possible prospects. What's stopping you from sending 20 emails? Nothing is actually stopping you. You're just not doing it. What's stopping you from, if you want more people to know about yourself, what's stopping you from getting on camera and going live every day? I got to pause connection on Instagram here. Let's see it. Okay. There's nothing stopping anybody from doing it. There's nothing stopping any of you from doing a live stream every day if you wanted to. You could go for 5 minutes. You go for an hour if you want to. There's nothing stopping you from doing it. All right, why aren't you doing it? You're just not doing it. And again, a lot of these things you can push against very easily from where you stand. And then when you get around another person, an expert like a coach or a trainer, they can start giving you a process and a system and hold you accountable to doing this on a consistent basis, not just with random actions. Let's move on to point number 2. We're talking here today about how you are better than you think you are. And I'll answer questions and comments at the end. Number 2, Tapping into this potential often requires you throwing yourself into the fire of new experiences that come with, as I already told you, temporary discomfort. Temporary discomfort. And why am I so sure that this discomfort is temporary? Because there's another thing that stops people. They say, all right, I understand the whole part about temporary discomfort, but I just don't want ongoing discomfort. Nobody says that out loud, but this is how someone could be thinking that leads them to hesitate to take an action because they don't want to be permanently uncomfortable. I don't think anyone wants to be permanently uncomfortable. Well, let me tell you a secret. No human being can be physically uncomfortable on a continuous basis without doing something about it. So this is not a real thing. Ongoing discomfort is not a real thing. All right. Nobody will always feel uncomfortable consistently because eventually anything, even if it's brand new, you get used to it. So any of you ever been in an ice bath, for example, when you first got in, it was really uncomfortable because the water is really damn cold and there's all that ice on you and your body's not used to being in that temperature of water. But if you sit there for a minute, after about 10 minutes, it's not as uncomfortable as it was when you first got in. Why? Because you get used to it. All right. Human beings, we have this amazing ability to adapt to pretty much anything. We can adapt to damn near anything that doesn't kill us. So once you get into a new space, you expand your comfort zone and now you are a little bit further than you used to. Eventually you get used to being at this level. So now it's not uncomfortable anymore. It may not be perfect, but eventually you get so used to it that it becomes a normal thing. And now you can push even further and further and further. Each time there's going to be temporary discomfort. The challenge is most people would rather live a life of comfort and ease rather than putting themselves voluntarily into an uncomfortable situation. This is the reason why many people don't grow. Main reason most people don't grow is not because they don't know what to do or that they're incapable, is because they don't want to deal with the anticipated discomfort that comes with growth. That what makes you different, who's listening to me right now, is if you choose to do this, if you go the opposite direction of most people, and if you want a simple point, let's just call it that will help separate you from most people, the average masses of people. Just look around at how most people behave and do the opposite of that. Look at how most people behave, how most people operate. You can't read other people's minds, but you can get a pretty good idea of maybe what someone is thinking by looking at their actions and listening to their words, and just do the opposite of what most people do. And again, most people will never just say, well, I don't change because I don't want to get uncomfortable. There are a handful of people who might admit that. Most people don't admit that. They just come up with convenient excuses for why they're not changing. And the main reason is the discomfort. Okay. And again, it's not even real. It's a discomfort that didn't even happen because you didn't do anything yet. All right. So what are you uncomfortable about? Nothing. You're uncomfortable about the thought of being uncomfortable. It's not the action of being uncomfortable. So I remember I once heard a personal trainer say that if they're working with a client and the client, I got another pause connection on Instagram. Oh, there we go. All right. So I once heard a trainer say that if they're working with a client and the client just listens to everything that the trainer says, they would get double the results in half the time. If the client just did everything that the trainer said. And this is the concept that I want you to understand, because being able to get that kind of results requires, again, just dealing with the discomfort. And I'm going to use this word over and over again. I've used it 10 times already. And understand that discomfort is not necessarily about physical pain. That's how most people imagine it. And this is what stops most people from doing stuff. Is you're thinking about the physical pain of whatever it is you're going to have to do. That's not really the pain. And when I say physical pain, I mean like actual physical in your muscles, or tangible pain. You could just say tangible, like, well, this money has to leave my bank account because I got to buy this thing or I got to invest in that. That's also what I mean when I say tangible pain. But the real pain is emotional and mental. It's not tangible. It's not something you can feel or measure or count. It is emotional and mental pain that people don't want to go through. Now, why would people be so concerned about emotional and mental pain? I'll tell you why. I'm glad that you asked the question. Reason people are so concerned about this is because human beings are subconsciously, we are married to our habits, which are our normal unconscious patterns of behavior. And habits control 85% of what you do in life. So when you have certain habits and you've been stuck to those habits for so long, the thought of changing those habits or breaking those habits and doing something different outside of that habit feels mentally painful. Why? Because you are going against the grain of what you've been doing up to this point. Habits control 85% of our thoughts, words, and actions. So going against the grain of that is difficult because, first of all, you have to think, and thinking is work. Secondly, you are going against your own pattern, which feels uncomfortable because most human beings, again, we operate by patterns. So going against your pattern just feels weird. All right, why am I doing this? Most people operate by patterns all the time. And depending on what that habit is that you're going against, you may be emotionally connected to that habit. You're emotionally connected of doing things a certain way. So when someone says, well, let's do it a different way, that's difficult for people to reconcile in their own minds. And most challenge, folks, that stops people from doing things is not tangible. It is mental and emotional. The physical pain that people think they're going to go through or that they complain about is nothing compared to the mental and emotional pain. The human mind is the most powerful tool known to man. If you can get control of that, you can deal with anything physically. Again, as long as it doesn't kill you, you can deal with pretty much anything. It's the mental and emotional part that you got to get over. And that's the reason why here at our company, Work on Your Game, the foundation of everything we do is based in mindset. And we start with mindset, we end with mindset. Why? Because mindset is the foundation of all behavior, is the foundation of all thoughts, words, and actions. Well, thoughts is part of mindset. It's the foundation of all words and actions and outcomes. So if you don't like the outcome that you're getting in some aspect of your life right now, what you need to trace it back to is not just the behaviors, but actually the thought process. What's the thought process that led to the actions that led to the outcome? That's the way that you should ask the question. Most people don't do that. Most people just go straight to the action. So most people look at their situation, see something that they want to change, and they immediately their next thought is, okay, what do I need to do differently? Keyword, do. D-O is an action word. What do I do? Those are about actions. Instead, what you should ask is, how do I need to change my thinking pattern? And when you change your thoughts, your actions automatically change. You see, if you have a thought pattern that I don't work out at all and I watch Netflix 4 hours a day, well, what actions are commensurate with that way of thinking? Of course, you're not going to work out and you're going to watch TV. But if you change your thoughts to, I'm in great shape and I take great care of my body, well, what actions have to go along with that way of thinking? Okay, well, I got to go to the gym. I got to drink some water. I got to work out. I can't sit and watch TV all day. I got to move my body. If you think a different way, then there are actions that go along with that way of thinking. If you truly believe what you're thinking. Another pause connection on IG. So if you truly believe the things that you're thinking, there are actions that automatically follow those thoughts. You understand? This is why it's called mindset. You set your mind. When your mind is set in a certain way, there are certain actions that naturally flow from that way of thinking. Now, if you're just thinking something kind of passively, you don't truly believe it, then you could be thinking something and then not doing it. That's what happens with a lot of people. How many of you got some things in your head you've been thinking, but you're not doing? Of course. If you truly believe the things that you're thinking, again, this is why it's called mindset. You have to actually set your mind this way. You can't just be passively surface level thinking about something. If you truly believe it, then the actions will naturally come from it. So if I tell you that I'm a golfer and I'm getting better at golf, well, what actions do I have to take to go along with and make that thought pattern real? What do I have to do to make that a genuine thing? Well, I got to actually have some golf clubs. I got to actually go to the golf course and I got to actually practice. If I really believe what I'm saying. Now, if I'm just telling myself some nonsense to feel good, then I can say it and not do it. That's called being out of integrity. Integrity means that the way that you think and the way that you speak and the way that you act are all in alignment. And when people are in full integrity, their thoughts, words, and actions are all lined up, and that usually leads to certain outcomes. You can't control outcomes, but you're usually headed in the right direction. Now, when someone's out of integrity, they can be thinking one thing, saying another thing, and they're and doing a whole different thing. They could be thinking, saying, and doing three completely different things. This is called being out of integrity. There's an incongruence between them. When you get all of these aligned and going in the same direction, things become a lot easier and your outcomes start to look like the way you want them to look. The challenge with this, again, is you got to get control of your mind, because you can listen to someone's words and you can look at their actions. So often people's words and actions, if they know if they're incongruent, and you can see it. You can see like, well, you just said this and you did that. What are you doing? But you can't read another person's mind. And this is why you have to get control over your mindset, because nobody else can do it for you, because only you know what you're actually thinking. You can say anything, but only you know what you're really thinking, and only you know what's actually going on in your head. And until you get control over that, you'll continue to basically self-sabotage. Because again, the thought pattern, nobody else can do that for you. Good news is we have frameworks for mindset. As I told you, mindset is the foundation of what we do over here. It starts with mindset, then we do everything else. It starts with the way you think, then everything else follows behind that. And many people don't value mindset at the level that I'm emphasizing it here, simply because you cannot count or measure mindset. You can count or measure money. You can count or measure pounds. You can count and measure lifting weights. You can count and measure working out. You can count and measure social media metrics. You can't count or measure your mindset. But The mindset is what leads to all of those other things. Everything that you can see, count, and measure is a result of somebody thinking something. All right. Everything that we're using right now only exists because somebody thought about something first. So this is why mindset is so important. And again, why I spend so much time emphasizing it. So the challenge here, and this is my second point, we're talking today about why you're better than you think you are. You have to be willing to get uncomfortable and trust that the discomfort will pay off more than the discomfort bothers you in the moment. Let me say that again. You have to be willing to get uncomfortable while understanding that the discomfort is for a reason, that the discomfort that you feel temporarily will be worth more in the long run than the discomfort hurts you in the present moment. So yes, it's going to be uncomfortable right now, but this is going to be worth it because I'm going to get something on the other side of it. This is known as Eustress. EUSTRESS. Everybody's heard of stress before, right? No, there are different types of stress. And someone else, I was talking to a medical guy down here in Miami. He had a different term for this. I forget what he said, but eustress is what I'm talking about. So when it comes to stress, you have distress and you have eustress. Distress is the kind of stress most people are referring to colloquially when they say stress. When someone says I'm stressed out, what do they mean? They mean distress. What is distress? Distress is the kind of stress that makes you feel old and tired and beat up and like life is beating you down and you can't solve anything. You can't fix anything. Distress is the kind of stress that makes somebody who's 30 look like they're 50. All right. Or somebody who they should be young and vibrant. They feel like an old man or an old woman because they're distressed. Distress is what gives you gray hairs before your time. All right. That's distress. Most of you are familiar with that kind of stress. Eustress, on the other hand, is a positive type of stress. This is the kind of stress that you will voluntarily endure, sometimes voluntarily, sometimes it happens by accident or randomly, but it's the kind of stress that you are willing to put yourself under because you believe that there's a positive flip side to dealing with that stress. To give you an example, any of you who goes to the gym or you do any type of workout on a regular basis, working out is not easy. Usually a workout is stressful on your body. It's stressful on your muscles. It can be stressful on your lungs. It can be stressful on your mind because you got to do it extra. You got to do another set of burpees and you don't feel like it. You got to run another mile and you're tired. It's raining. It's cold. It's hot. Whatever the situation is, whatever workout you're doing is not always easy. I see people in the CrossFit gym doing all those repetitions. And I know that sometimes their body is tired and their muscles are like, this is enough, but you got to do another set, right? But that's eustress. That's a good kind of stress. I don't think I've ever seen anybody in the gym working out with a gun to their head. Nobody does it because they have to. They do it because they want to, right? So working out is a form of eustress. Again, that's EUSTRESS. Many people don't even know that this exists, but I think all of you understand the concept, even if you didn't know it had a term. Eustress is a good kind of stress that you put yourself under on purpose because you believe you're going to get something beneficial from doing it. And the better you can put yourself under eustress, the more successful the person. Successful people are willing to get uncomfortable and they do it on purpose. They don't wait until life forces them to be uncomfortable. They put themselves under discomfort on purpose and they grow because of it. So my question to you is, how often are you doing it? How often are you putting yourself under eustress, on purpose stress, on purpose discomfort, because you know it's going to make you better? Moving on to point number 3. We are talking here today. This is the last point, and I'll take questions and comments at the end of this question. The topic here today is you are better than you think you are. Number 3, confidence comes from discipline. Confidence comes from discipline. You want to get better at cold calling, build a discipline of making 10 cold calls a day or 20 or 30 or however many you need to make to get good at it. The discipline of doing it gives you the confidence that you can do it. Simple enough, right? Now, what is discipline about? Discipline requires you to do things that you don't want to do, but you need to do. Isn't that true? Isn't that what discipline is? Discipline is about, there's other pieces to it too, but discipline is about doing things that you know you need to do, but you don't want to do, or that you don't feel like doing, or you will do it, you just don't want to do it right now. You want to do it, but you only want to do half of it. You don't want to do all of it. Discipline is about doing all of it right now, the way you're supposed to, even though you don't feel like doing it. That's discipline. How many of you, when the alarm went off today, you didn't feel like getting out of bed? But, well, actually, I don't know what time you got up. Did you get up when you were supposed to, or did you sleep in a couple extra 10 minutes? All right, what do you do? Discipline is about doing what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, how it's supposed to be done. The more discipline you can impose on yourself, the more confident of a person you will be. If you know someone who is very confident, usually they're a very disciplined individual. Look around at your life. Look at disciplined people who you know, if you know any disciplined people, and ask yourself, or actually the better question is look at confident people you know. Look at people you know who are pretty confident and ask yourself, is this person disciplined, at least in that aspect of their life? Maybe they're not disciplined in every aspect, but they're probably very disciplined in the aspect in which they are confident. So if you see someone who's confident about their physical capabilities in their physical body, usually it's because they're disciplined about what they do with their body. I see that one all the time. You can tell that when just walking around in the street looking at strangers. Someone who seems confident in their body, usually because they're disciplined about working out and taking care of their body. That's why they're confident about their body, because they know it looks good. All right. Now, someone who is undisciplined or not confident in their body, and you can tell by the way maybe they carry themselves, they're not standing up straight as much. They may have some extra pounds in different places. This applies to men and women. Usually it's because they have no discipline in taking care of their body. That's why they're not so proud of what it looks like. Is this true or not? Again, that's a good example there, because you can see that just by looking at a person. Whereas in other aspects of life, you might need to know somebody to get a better feel for their level of confidence. But I can tell when someone's confident in their body just by the way they carry themselves, because they don't mind you seeing it. So they stand up straight. They're out there. They're making eye contact because they know that you can see them. And they know that they're confident in what they do. Now, this does not apply across the board to everybody, because somebody can be woefully out of shape but still confident, or at least projecting confidence. But I just want you to get the idea, get the spirit of my point. So sometimes you don't feel like doing the work. All right. Is this true? I think everybody's had that experience. I keep getting pause connections on IG. All right. So sometimes you don't feel like doing the work. We all have days and times when we don't feel like doing the work. And sometimes, it's just my timer going off. Sometimes the work is work that you didn't even know would be required of you. Has any of you ever set out to do some work and then you found out that there was more stuff you had to do that you didn't even know was going to be on the menu, but you had to do it anyway? And this happens. Discipline is about doing it anyway. That's the discipline. Do it anyway. Why? Because of the goal. What's the goal? If the goal is we need to get this outcome, and it turns out that you need to do a little bit more work to get the outcome, then are we respecting the goal? If so, do the work. Simple as that. So discipline is about knowing what the goal is and doing whatever is necessary or required in order to hit the goal. And doing this, in this whole concept, do it anyway. Just take that phrase, do it anyway. If you just started applying that to your life, I guarantee you'll be a lot more consistent. You'll get a lot more done. It will help you expand your comfort zone, and it will challenge a lot of limits you put on yourself. Should I say that one again? Do it anyway. Just take that phrase, do it anyway. Start applying it to your life. A bunch of things will happen. First of all, you would be a lot more consistent. You would get a lot more done. It would expand your comfort zone, and it would challenge a lot of self-imposed limits that you have on yourself right now that you are not even aware of. If you just told yourself do it anyway, the next time you tell yourself, well, I can't do any more, or I can't do this, or this is enough, but you say do it anyway, immediately you'll find out within 10 seconds that, oh, that was just a self-imposed limit. It wasn't even real. Simple as that. So that's the phrase. Everybody got the phrase? Do it anyway. So let me recap these points. You got a question, put it in the comments right now. We're talking today about why you are better than you think you are. Number one, you have untapped potential in you that you have not explored for the simple fact of not trying. That could mean, in one way, not trying is in just being lazy. It could also mean another way is that you are not lazy. You work hard, but you're working hard in your comfort zone. You're not putting any effort into doing things that will push you outside of your comfort zone. So sometimes people use effort as an excuse to stay in the same space, as opposed to taking a little bit of that effort and applying it in a different space. That's where all the change could possibly happen if you move yourself to that space. Number two, often tapping into this potential requires throwing yourself into the fire of new experiences that will be accompanied by temporary discomfort. Are you willing to deal with temporary discomfort in order to be the best version of yourself? Many people don't want to deal with the temporary discomfort, not because it feels bad, but because you are anticipating the mental and emotional challenge of having to do something that pushes you outside of your comfort zone. And this is often a subconscious conversation. It's not something that you can consciously articulate. Most people cannot. But subconsciously, your subconscious mind is telling you, hey, you're about to change one of your habits, go against the grain and do something different than what we've been doing for the last 15 years. Are you sure you want to do this? And as soon as you start pushing against the edges of your comfort zone, the subconscious mind signals an alarm. All right, did you hear that beep that just went off a couple minutes ago? That's the alarm system. And that's just a timer for me. But your subconscious alarm system feels like fear. It feels like discomfort. It feels like I can't do the same thing. So anytime you're about to push yourself out of your comfort zone, your subconscious mind starts throwing the kitchen sink at you, and it starts making the alarms go off. And when alarms go off, what happens? People usually do everything they can. Any of you ever push the alarm on your car by accident and the alarm's going off and you start to feel all embarrassed and you're fumbling for your keys and trying to turn it off? All right, that's what we do when the subconscious mind's alarm system goes off. We start doing whatever we can to get it to shut the hell up, which means what? going back to your comfort zone and doing the same thing that you've been doing. And this is the reason why many people don't change, because you don't have the discipline to tell your subconscious alarm system, shut the hell up. We are going to do this anyway. I don't care if the alarm keeps going off. I'm still going to do what I need to do. Many of you don't have the discipline to tell that to yourselves because you haven't been trained or coached on how to do it, which I understand, but I'm pointing this out to you. So now you're consciously aware of it. All right. This is the whole point. Renee Nora, good morning. Good to see you. So that's the second point. You got to be willing to tap into that potential by dealing with the temporary discomfort. This is just what it is. This is the trade-off of growth. The trade-off of growth, folks, is discomfort. The trade-off of growth is discomfort. Nothing in life is a perfect scenario. Everything has a trade-off. So anytime any of you has ever been in a situation that you think is perfect, well, just keep looking around. There is some imperfections and there are some trade-offs in that situation. You simply just don't know about them. And number three, confidence comes from discipline. All right. Anyone you know who seems to be very confident in what they do, there's a lot of discipline behind that confidence. So next time you see someone, they're very confident at what they do, anything. They're a confident speaker. They're confident in their fitness. They're confident in the way they run their business. They're confident in how they deal with their kids. Anytime you see someone who's confident at something, you should ask them, what are the disciplines behind that confidence? Just ask that question. And I guarantee most of them are going to say, nobody's ever asked that question, but it's a very good question. And I guarantee you don't have an answer. Guaranteed. Next time you talk to someone who's a confident communicator, ask them, excuse me, miss, excuse me, sir, what are the disciplines behind that confidence? You seem to be a very confident speaker or communicator. What are the disciplines behind your confidence as a communicator? And they're going to tell you, nobody's ever asked them that, number one. And number two, they will have an answer to the question and they will tell you what the disciplines are. And you'll learn a lot just by asking the right question. And one of the key skills for me as a coach is asking the right question. I call it insight. There's a lot of other things that go into insight. Insight is about identifying what's really happening and asking the right questions that open people up with the answers to the right questions. See, my job as a coach is not to have all the answers. You can get answers from Google, or you get answers from ChatGPT. But the key is, if you ever use something like AI software, what's the key? The key is not that they can give you answers. The key is, what question do you ask? Now, you ask the wrong question, they'll give you a bunch of garbage answers. So you ask the right question, that's when you unlock everything. And that's my job as a coach. That's my job in what I do professionally, is asking the right questions, and then we get answers. The challenge that many people have is they do this backwards. They go around looking for answers to the wrong questions. So even if you get all the right answers, you're still in the wrong spot. Everybody follow what I'm saying here? All right, you got a question or comment, go ahead, put it in the comment section. I'll address them right now. Let me check over on a couple of these platforms, and then we will address everything. All right, so you got a question or comment on, let me do TikTok first, and I'm going to do Instagram. So you got a question on Instagram, post it. Let me go through TikTok. First, the topic here today is you are better than you think you are. And I just gave you the 3 points to help you understand this. And by the way, while I'm going through these, workonyourgameuniversity.com. You want to work with me directly, have me as your direct coach. That is the place where it happens. Is the link in my bio or the link in the comment, posted comment, pinned comment on wherever you are watching this right now. This recording will be in Work on Your Game University after it's over. So any of you want to watch this on replay, that's where you find it. And let's see. Stanley said, did I play basketball? Yes, basketball was my sport. I played from 2005 to 2015. And a bunch of my videos still on YouTube. Actually, all of my videos for basketball still on YouTube. Von Aquaria said, you made it to the league. You were on the Charlotte Bobcats. All right. When were you on the Charlotte Bobcats? I don't know if you're telling the truth or not, but congratulations if you did. Jamie says, at Double Wheat, we always place a more successful person in the room when we present. What do you mean by that? Why? Why do you place a more successful person in the room? What does that do? What's the significance of that? And him says, favorite book that I've read recently. Favorite book that I read recently. Sometimes I reread books that I've already read, but one that I'm reading right now that I'm almost finished. It's not my first time reading it, but I'm rereading it. It's called No BS Marketing to the Affluent by Dan Kennedy. It's basically about selling your products to people who have more money. Good book, good insights on marketing to just different markets of people. So I would give you that one because that's the one I'm almost finished. I'm on the last chapter right now, finishing that book. And someone said, no, I read all the comments at the end. So anybody who's coming in the middle of this while I'm talking, I do all my points and then I go to the comments. So let's see. Anybody else got a comment on TikTok? Go ahead and post it. Someone said, I'm trying to reach you about past due payments on a 32-inch TV. I don't own a TV, so you ain't talking to me. Someone said, Hood Ramsey said, I got a question. I've been following you for a while. What have you been up to lately? Still balling? Well, I don't know how long you've been following me. Maybe you stopped following because I stopped playing basketball almost a decade ago. So I've been doing what you heard today is a good example of what I've been doing. It's not all that I do, but it's a good example of it. So let's see. Some comments. Alicia, good morning. Good to see you. Jason said, similar to working out, exercising. I don't know what you're referring to, but I agree with you. All right, let's see what we got on Instagram. You got a question or comment on IG, go ahead and post it. We will address. Someone said, how long is shipping process with your books? Usually relatively quick, unless we are experiencing a delay in shipping or printing. We got a delay in printing right now. We're trying to get a couple books printed. That's all. DJ Chris Lopez, good to see you. Indian Eye says, everything you want on the other side of suffering. Yes. I don't know if he was the first one to say that, but sure, you give him credit. Copywriting AG. Yes, that's what's up. Let's see. Renee Noor, good to see you. Good morning. Okay, I think I addressed everything. So workonyourgameuniversity.com. You want to work with me directly. That's the link in my bio here. People have been asking me, when do I do these lives? I start in the 8 o'clock hour, Monday through Friday. So I usually start, my aim is often to start at 8 o'clock, but I don't always start at 8 o'clock on the dot. But I start anywhere between 8 and 8:30 a.m. Eastern on whatever platform you're watching now. That's when I start these lives. When these come down, they'll be on the back end inside of our university. Again, you want to get access to all of our courses, all of our trainings, and have me as your direct coach. That's all happening at Work on Your Game University. So for now, any of you got a question or comment about anything, you just hit me in a DM or send me an email. My email address is dre@dreallday.com. That's my name. And I will see you all tomorrow morning. Topic TBA. Everybody have a great day. We out of here.